What if I told you the most amazing piece of tech in your marketing toolbox is also the only non-digital part of your digital strategy, and you're probably overlooking it? You could be winning loyalty from the start by thinking differently about the delivery experience. It's part of the customer journey that can leave the most lasting impression. As the inventors of bubble wrap brand Original Cushioning, Sealed Air has enabled and supported commerce for more than 60 years. Find out why digitizing the at-home unboxing experience is the next frontier for retailers, and how to get started. Visit sealedair.com/totalretailtech.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hi, and welcome to Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Executive Editor of Total Retail. Joining me today is Anthony Marino, President of thredUP, the world's largest online thrift store where consumers can buy and sell high-quality secondhand clothes. We're going to be discussing thredUP's recent partnerships with Penney and Macy's, as well as the growth of resale as a retail category. Thanks for joining me, Anthony.
Thanks, Joe. It's great to be here.
So let's start by having you briefly tell us a little bit about thredUP. You know, who are the brand's customers? What are the type of products that you're selling? Your distribution channels? Kind of give us a brief overview there.
Yeah, sure. So again, thanks for having me. It's great to be with you. So thredUP is the world's largest fashion resale platform, and our mission is to inspire a new generation of shoppers to think secondhand first. And how thredUP works is we have sellers who order a thredUP clean out bag and send us secondhand clothing and shoes, accessories from women and kids. We process those clothing items, accessory items, put them online, and then our shoppers buy them at 70, 80, 90% off retail.
So, as I mentioned in the intro, this is kind of the growth of resale that we've seen in recent years, and kind of the online consignment model. Why do you believe that's kind of a growing trend? What are the consumer behaviors that are leading to this becoming more popular?
Yeah, so there's a couple things going on. So when I joined thredUP 6-7 years ago, the idea of buying used clothing online was, kind of a new idea. Others had done it. I mean, Craigslist and eBay had been around for some time, but the experience of buying secondhand clothing online really hadn't changed in many, many, many years. And so I think a couple things have led to the incredible growth of the market. The first is, at least from thredUP's perspective, we made it super, super easy for people to clean out their closet using our service. So you come to thredUP.com, you order a clean out bag, which is like a hamper sized recyclable bag. We send that to you for free. You fill it up with all the clothing that's in your closet, women's and kids clothing and accessories, and then we pick it up for free. We take those items, process them, put them online, and then we give you money when we sell the items. So one side of the marketplace, the side of the seller who was cleaning out their closet, we've just taken away all the friction, all the difficulty of finding a happy home for the clothes that are in your closet that you're no longer wearing. For purchasers, that's where some of the real change has happened too. First, one thing has always been true is that consumers care about value. No one wants to overpay, and consumers want better quality for less, but they also care about sustainability. 74% of millennials and Gen Zers prefer to buy from sustainably conscious brands. So we're at this amazing intersection of clothing that's an incredible deal, an incredible value, while also making you feel good about your choice. And then finally, freshness and selection is a huge value proposition for our customers. We list new items on thredUP every hour of every day. We process about an item every second across our facilities. So if you're a thredUP shopper and you're coming to the site and you're scrolling through, you're always seeing new things. And so you have this incredibly satisfying experience of this treasure hunt where you're seeing new things all the time, but it sort of comes without the eco hangover of buying new clothing, and it's in a great deal too. So all of these factors have really come together to make it a very, very large market. It's about a $24 billion market today, secondhand, and it's on track to double in the next 5 years to about $50 billion. So all these things are really coming together in a powerful way.
Yeah, and I'm interested. You kind of detailed the process a little bit, and you make it very easy for consumers to participate. What I would imagine there's some criteria around the products that you'll accept and eventually be made available for sale versus some things that you might not keep. What are kind of the determinants in that? And then the second part of that is, okay, if you decide not to put certain merchandise up for sale that you've collected, what ends up happening to that clothing and that you don't accept?
Yeah, so the items that we accept to sell on thredUP really need to be in like new condition. So they can't be damaged. There can't be terrible pilling on the fabric. They can't have holes. They can't smell funny. They really need to be just as good as something you would give to a close friend. So we really only accept kind of the finest, highest quality used apparel. For items that we don't accept, for items that are damaged in some way or need repair, we can either send those items back to you. You can opt to have your items returned to you that we don't accept, and you pay a small shipping fee to have them sent back to you. If you don't want those items sent back to you and you want to leave them with us, we work to make sure that those items don't end up in a landfill. So we will put them through other recycling programs, get them into the hands of other fabric or textile sellers who can make some kind of good with that fabric. It could be a range of products, but our goal is to keep everything as much as we can out of a landfill.
Okay. And then this business was set up online, the thredUP business. The whole experience has been online previously, and I alluded to the fact that you recently partnered with a couple of traditional brick-and-mortar retailers in Macy's and JCPenney to sell thredUP merchandise in those retailers' stores. So let me first start by asking, what kind of led to those partnerships, and maybe you can detail for our audience a little bit about how the partnerships with JCPenney and Macy's work.
Yeah, we're really excited to be partnering with Macy's and JCP, and you may have even seen we just announced a partnership with Madewell too in the past couple weeks. So what led us in this direction of offering amazing secondhand apparel, offline as well as online, is our customers were really asking for it. So every year we publish our annual resale report, and in the 2019 report we asked a whole bunch of shoppers across America, hey, would you buy more from your favorite retailer if they sold secondhand? And one in two shoppers would buy more from off-price retailers like TJ Maxx if secondhand apparel was offered. The same sort of trend followed for luxury retailers, fast fashion department stores. All their customers basically said, yeah, if I went into my favorite store and they had incredible secondhand apparel, I would buy more from that retailer. And so it was a combination of what consumers were telling us, and then some of our partners came to us and said, hey, we want to drive more foot traffic into our stores. We want to provide brands and products that that are exciting to our customers. We want to provide new product and refresh those items on the rack more frequently. So can you help us do that? And it was sort of this really sort of perfect partnership between the retailers who do what they do best and taking care of their customers in their retail locations, and thredUP, who can power a resale experience in their stores using the technology and the operating platform that we've built up. So it's really been an exciting development in the market, and we think it's, for consumers, it's fantastic. I mean, still the vast majority of apparel is purchased offline, so we want to make sure that amazing secondhand product is where the customers are shopping.
Did you look at, and I would imagine there was some analysis into the crossover between customers that are shopping on thredUP that are also shopping in store at JCP and at Macy's, and now Madewell as a third partner here? Did you look at that kind of, the typical demographic of the shoppers of each brand?
Yeah, there is some overlap for sure. And I think you bring up a really good point, which is for many years, retailers, brands, sort of the conventional wisdom was that the shopper who buys secondhand is sort of like a niche market. It's someone else's customer. But what all the research is showing is that the secondhand shopper is really everyone's customer, whether they're shopping at Target or Walmart or Gucci or Zara or Macy's or TJ Maxx. There is a secondhand thrifter inside of every one of those customers. And so I think that was one of the things that got retailers and brands thinking differently about their strategy towards secondhand product. And one of the other sort of surprising changes that we saw was that when we did a survey of retail and brand executives as part of our 2019 resale report, 9 in 10 retail execs said, yes, we want to test a resale offering in the near term. So that showed to us that the market had really changed, and that there was a whole new understanding amongst brands and retailers that they needed a strategy when it came to secondhand.
Do you think it's the that millennial consumer, I know you cited earlier, kind of the sustainability factor that impacts a lot of their purchasing decisions, and these traditional retailers that are maybe trying to acquire more of those younger customers? Do you think that plays a big factor in it?
Yeah, I mean, millennials and Gen Z, if you just look at the data, millennials and Gen Zers are driving the growth in secondhand. So 18 to 37-year-olds are adopting secondhand, almost 3 times faster than other age groups. So 1 in 3 Gen Zers will buy secondhand in 2019. So that was definitely a part of it, was making sure that those retailers and brands are relevant to this new group of shoppers, because they have a different set of needs they're trying to satisfy.
So let's talk a little bit about the impact that you think these partnerships, Madewell, Penney, Macy's, can have on the thredUP's business. And one thing, a corollary benefit that I think you would see is, in addition to just by having the brand be more present and available in store, it's going to create more brand awareness. You might see an uptick in the online business as well. Is that something you kind of forecast, or maybe have already started to see?
We're hoping to see that for sure. I mean, I think by the end of this year, thredUP will be present in over 100 Macy's and JCP stores, so as well as some other retailers. So when you start to kind of do the math on the foot traffic and the exposure that the thredUP brand will receive, we think that should be a positive thing for us. And it's not the easiest thing to measure precisely as you can in the e-com world, but we think that there's just has to be value when a customer can walk into those stores and touch and feel this incredible high quality secondhand product, and then see, they sort of start to understand what the thredUP value proposition is. And we think it's amazing for our retail partners as well, because they're drawing these new customers into the store who we're seeing this fresh inventory, who have yet another reason to walk into their store. Yeah,
it's a win-win for both of you. So let's talk a little bit about what other growth initiatives are in the works. You mentioned the recent partnership with Madewell. Anything else in terms of retail partnerships or other things that you're targeting in terms of ways that you continue to grow thredUP?
So we just launched the Madewell Archive, and which is our customers love Madewell. I mean, who doesn't love Madewell? But they wanted to build on their current sustainability initiatives and extend the lifespan of their denim products. So we're helping them curate the selection of pre-owned Madewell jeans that comes directly from thredUP's inventory, and those will be available in Madewell stores. So it's a really exciting partnership. We have others that are in the pipeline. I can't talk about them just yet, but stay tuned. We think there's a lot of exciting things coming down the line that'll make secondhand product even more available in places where customers care about the most.
You mentioned women's and kids in terms of your product selection. Any thought in expanding into men's or any other? Right now it's apparel and accessories. Product extension or anything in that realm.
Yeah, the primary focus is still women's and kids apparel, and we'll probably stick pretty closely and focus pretty closely to that for the foreseeable future.
You mentioned the growth of the resale marketplace. How it's expected to double. So obviously that's going to invite more competition. So can you talk a little bit about what thredUP is offering consumers that you believe will differentiate it from other businesses in the resale market?
So there's a number of things. I think the thing that sometimes folks underestimate is how complex it is to power resale at very large scale. So So when clothing items come to thredUP into our facilities, they come to us with no barcode attached. They're clothing in a bag that someone has decided they no longer want, and so they toss them into a thredUP clean out bag or into an extra cardboard box they had in their home, and they slap a thredUP prepaid label on it. And it comes to us, and then we have to figure out what those items are worth. And so we have to take those items out of that bag. We have to attribute them on a number of levels, photograph them, price them in a way where we can satisfy our customers, but also generate profits at the item level. And doing that at the scale of millions of items is a pretty complicated task that requires a lot of technology, a lot of data, a lot of operations process and automation. And so we've spent the past 10 years developing a system, and we continue to improve it to do that, where by the end of this year, we will have processed upwards of 100 million items. So all of that operating infrastructure is designed to make it really easy for the customer to both clean out, to be able to send us just about anything they have that's in their closet, other than men's clothing, of course, so women's and kids' clothing, and then make it super easy for shoppers to shop that product as if it were any other e-commerce experience, where they can search, they can filter, they can be inspired by interesting seasonal merchandising stories. So bringing those two sides of the marketplace together to create this really frictionless experience to purchase secondhand is sort of non-trivial. And so we think that's a huge part of what makes the thredUP proposition for both sellers and buyers so powerful.
That technology infrastructure that you mentioned, primarily developed in-house then, and you talked about kind of all the data that you're that's ongoing here in your operations. That's been something that you've developed primarily in-house?
Yeah, it's completely developed in-house.
And then maybe to just get a sense, how long is that typical operations process? Somebody sends you a box full of clothing. How long does it take to go and run through that process before it's available up for sale on the thredUP website?
Yeah, I think a couple days. Once we receive the items from customers, depending on how many items are ahead of them in the queue, it could take a couple days till those items get online, and then customers get paid shortly after their items are sold.
Okay, great. Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank Anthony Marino of thredUP for joining me today. Please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcasts, for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. But make sure to subscribe at our podcast channel page as well. Also, please take the time to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.
Packaging can build positive associations for your brand. It can even increase the likelihood of repeat purchases by 77%. To learn more from Sealed Air, the makers of bubble wrap brand Original Cushioning, visit sealedair.com/totalretailtech.